Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you for joining me. My name is Ona, and my channel is Art of Awakening. And we're just going to do a quick reading here for the month of March 2021. And this is not going to be predictive reading, it's just a reading of energy. We're going to work with the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. I'm going to pull a couple of cards just to support for each one throughout this month. And so I'm using my Spirit Animal Awareness card deck as well as the illustrated Herbiary from Maia. And so we're just going to pull a plant card and an animal card to support each of our four bodies for this month. And if you want a little bit more about the month of March 2021, I'm going to put a link below to my annual reading that I did just before New Year's, and you can explore a little bit more there. So while I finish shuffling here, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that link below to subscribe, and be sure to hit that bell. You'll be to be notified of new videos. And let's get started. So we're going to do, first of all, it's almost like a four directions thing as well. I'm going to start with the north with the physical body, and the supporting animal here is rabbit. Okay, so let's think about rabbit in terms of the physical. One thing that really comes forward for rabbit is kind of the whole idea of grounding. They're a very just kind of earth-based animal, and even though they are, quick and so forth, they really have that connection with earth. Now, the springtime, that's when things are in a lot of flux, a lot of change, and it can be disconcerting to all of our bodies, right? But the physical body as well. And so rabbit's one that really kind of comes forth, and they just pop out of the earth pretty much in the spring. But having that connection with earth is super, super important. So what can you do to ground your body? Well, breathing and really breathing into the belly, using earth in your meditations, getting out and gardening, any of that stuff, getting outside as much as you can, being in nature, that kind of stuff can really help to ground you through this process of change. And even if you're in the southern hemisphere and going in, it's still a process of change around the equinox. That's when the light, the amount of light in the day changes very, very quickly around these times. So let's pull a plant card as well to support the physical body in this month of March. This is dandelion. Perseverance is the title of the card, and I love this. It's really, this is all about going to the sun, right? Holding yourself to the light. And for a lot of us, well, in the northern hemisphere, we may been through this winter. It actually has been really a mild winter, at least where I'm at in northern Michigan. But even so, it's still winter. We've had the dark days. We've had a lot of craziness happening, and this is just an invitation to get outside, get some sunshine, and really, it's going to help you to bloom this spring physically, right? Just physically, ground. Dandelion itself is also a wonderful, wonderful kind of spring tonic if you like to forage. The wild plants are so much more nutritious than anything that we can grow, even in the best garden. The wild plants just really have a lot of beautiful nutrition in them. So, just the leaves, when they come up in the spring, it's one of the first little greens to come up. And I like to just kind of nibble on them if I'm on a walk. The flowers themselves are actually pretty delicious. You can dip them in batter and fry them or whatever. They're pretty good. So try that out if you're feeling adventurous, as a little physical body thing you can do to interact with the earth and the nature around you. Maybe where you're at, you might already have dandelions. So if you're seeing dandelions already, put that in the comments below. I'd love to know that, because I know when it's coming up in other places, it will eventually make it to Upper Michigan. Okay, so the next card here is going to be for the east. We're going to go kind of in a clockwise direction, and this is the element of air, and it's for our mental body, and the supporting animal is blue whale. Okay, so this is profound insight, influential ideas. So this may be something that is sort of supported right now in March, delving into areas of interest. Finding a discernment is another one, because there's so much polarization happening out there right now that, and truth. And so it's like you can't tell where the truth really is. And in order to really come at the truth, sometimes you have to delve into influential ideas from multiple places, and don't be looking at just one area of influence. Look at, okay, if somebody's saying something, then look at who's their opposition and start listening to them as well. And even if it's somebody you don't agree with, as you listen, you can listen with discernment, which means that you don't just knee-jerk accept or reject what's being said. It means to really listen with a very open mind, and to, first of all, try to understand the context with which it's being said, to find the truth in it, and also find where, well, maybe that doesn't quite jibe. But also to recognize that, everybody's got a different perspective, and that sometimes the truth isn't necessarily apparent just by listening to one side. Sometimes you have to really dig through things and to get that profound insight, right? And some, that it's going to require compassion. So a lot of these words that are coming up for whale, on my deck, I've got like keywords for each animal, are really coming into play, I think, here. Let's pull a plant card here supporting mental activity for this month of March. And this one jumped out. It is yarrow. Okay, and it's called pocket of protection. So finding your area of protection, right? And sometimes when we get those ideas out there or whatever, that we can find ourselves attacked. And so there's a lot of ways to, to deal with that. But one is to, first of all, like, we don't have to always jump into the fray, right? Sometimes we can just stand back and observe and then act based on what we've learned without actually ever going into battle, right? Yarrow is also known as soldier's woundwort, right? And so it's a healing herb that was used to heal pretty egregious wounds. And so this could be a month where it's good to just kind of put your boundaries up, put your barriers up, go within a little bit, and do a little wound healing, right? Using that mental capacity to look and see, what were the lessons, if you're feeling wounded in any way, to go in and look for the lessons, because any kind of wounding or any kind of hardship that we've been through, it's always there to help us learn what our soul needs to learn, so that we can go forward. So it could be a time where we can kind of go within, take a little time out, maybe in March, and contemplate, reflect a little bit before moving forward again. Moving into the direction of south, and the element of spirit. So let's see what animal wants to come forward to support our spiritual development. And this is dragonfly. And so dragonfly, okay, so this might actually have a lot to do with this whole process of kind of reflection. Dragonfly is a transcendence kind of symbol, right? And it also is a bridge between the spirit, right? And the conscious and the subconscious, right, above and below. It spends most of its life actually underneath the water as a larvae, undeveloped, right, and then it comes up into this brilliant, often brilliantly colored, beautiful creature of the air. And so this is a time where, Spiritually, we can dance with this. Springtime also is this time of rebirth, of transcendence. Okay, so once you've had a little bit of contemplation of what were the actual lessons and what can you bring out of whatever you've been through, maybe also a time to celebrate like how this has changed you, where you feel like, where can you play in the light now? Where can you play in the light? Because that's what the dragonfly does. He comes up out of this water, and here he's got all this beautiful light and air he can fly around in. And it's just like he reflects the light so much, right? And so, allow yourself to dance, allow yourself to be creative, because sometimes that's where our real gifts shine forth. And creativity can mean the arts, it can mean, dancing and playing and playing with paint and doing music and all that. So it's a beautiful time to do that. But it also is, your creativity in your work, your creativity with your family, just, how can you bring love into everything that you're doing? Find creative ways to express the love and the joy that you are feeling. Even if you're not feeling love and joy, try to imagine what would it feel like if you physically brought the vibration of love and joy into your body, and then express what that feels like. Okay, plant to support the spirit right now is, this is a card that came up in a reading that I did for somebody earlier today, and it's Aspen. It's We Are One. And for that reading, it was really feeling like being one with Mother Earth, and we've got a real strong, but this also feels like remembering the oneness that we have with all of our brothers and sisters, okay? With every single human being, we are all one, right? We're all part of the great body of humanity. And so this is something that's super, super important to remember right now. And not only that, but as human beings, humans are one with the earth, right? We are like, we're not just Earth's children, but we are inseparable from Earth. And spiritually, we are a part of Earth's biosphere, her communication, her kind of neurological system, right? We make up an important part of the brain of Mother Earth, her own consciousness, right? So keeping in mind that whatever vibration you're vibrating at, that's contributing to the vibration of the Earth. And so doing the best we can to play in the light, right, to reflect light in of ourselves is going to really impact in a very tangible way all the outer world around us, right? The earth herself and everybody on it. So remembering that oneness, even when things seem a little challenging, remembering that oneness. And while I choose a card for the emotional body, this is the direction of west. Okay, this is beautiful. Salmon, which I always think of as kind of the Ascension card. Emotional body with salmon. Salmon's the one that moves either with or against the current, right? Depending on the cycle and where it's at. Okay, so when it's time for, if it's been through this whole process, you may be at a time in your life where like this whole ascension in the cycle of life, right? It goes from, from nothingness, right, to growth. So basically it goes from death, which is like the in-between. And then there's this growth, and then you have this maturity that happens, and then it's time to kind of move back and be fertile and then go back to death, right? So we have this cycle, and we go through it not just once in our full lifetime, but within our lifetime, right? So I'm just recently, I've just personally just kind of been through this whole huge cycle. I'm starting a new cycle. So I'm sort of at that death point where, kind of been through the cycle, dying to my old self, being reborn to the new self, and but that's where I'm at. You may be at a different point. You may be at a point where you've already been through that, and now you're feeling your energy just like surging forward, and that would be kind of like this, maybe a young salmon moving down the river and ready to move out into the world, right? Maybe you have a message to bring to the world, something like that. And that is kind of going with that flow of emotion. But sometimes, like if you're, you may be in this period where you're having to move through stuff, and that's kind of fighting against the current. So being aware of kind of where the current is for you, and it may be a current of popular opinion, it could be different kinds of currents, but whether it's feeling good for you to really flow with that current, or if it's time for you to just kind of emotionally, you may be having things coming at you and having to stay stable and strong against that current. So just whichever it is for you, feeling into that and feeling your own, the grace that is there for you, right? Because there's grace both ways. There's grace with, just being in that phase of life where you're just whoosh, right? And not trying to fight it. Because sometimes we're in the fight mode so much that when the tides turn for us, we stay in the fight mode. And that can bring us out of this beautiful current, right? So really, is this time to just let go and just let things go and relax into it and allow it to open up for you? Or is it time where you really do need to be super disciplined and, do the grind and get the work done and stay focused on that goal, and no matter what comes, right? You will know if you really go within and feel into, what the truth is for you, and then dealing with the flow in a way that works for you. And then one little card here for supporting the emotional body. This is from the plant kingdom. And a message from the plant kingdom. First of all, let's take a breather and really slow down and making sure that we're pulling the right card. This is Rose. And the title of this card is Crack Open. Which I think is a super interesting title. It's got these two, it's almost like this caduceus shape. It's got that sword, right? As I was talking about, sometimes we all go through these inner battles or the outer challenges and all that. The rose is growing up around that. And I'm going to actually open up the guidebook and see what Maia has to say about this. She's also got the moon phases here, right? Things coming to a peak and then waning. Sometimes the challenges that we go through will crack us open in a way that allows us to bloom, right? So giving thanks, holding in that space of gratitude. I haven't cracked open her book yet, by the way. I'm just kind of wrapping here. But holding to that space of gratitude can really hold that emotional body in a place that's healthy. What is she saying about this? Oops, page 56. Okay. Rose knows to experience love in full, you need to be a strong vessel while at the same time cracking open. So this is that balance between our boundaries and our vulnerability. Says a contradiction, no more a contradiction than flowers and thorns, murmurs Rose. She reminds you to embrace dualities and say both and rather than either or, okay? Because sometimes we get just emotionally caught up in things, and sometimes we need to remind our emotional body that, sometimes things go both ways, and we can really just accept that. It's acceptance, right? As well as gratitude. All right, so reading, okay, and she's got a little ritual. Wear your thorns. Like Rose, we've been cultivated for beauty, male or female. We tend our appearance, choosing colors that complement our complexion, and so forth. Like hybrid roses, as we cultivate ourselves, it's easy to become rather thornless, right? Sometimes we're brought up to be nice. She says, add a layer of thorns to your primping by incorporating a symbol of protection into your attire. Maybe it's a color that acts as a warning. In nature, this could be red or black, sometimes yellow and black. Maybe it's protective jewelry. She says Celtic cultures wore amber for protection. Some Native American tribes wore turquoise. If you have long hair, try adding hair sticks, symbolic weaponry you're up to, okay? Just having these little symbolic, thorn things around us, sometimes feel into if that feels good to you, all right? There's also gentler ways of protecting, right? That maybe a thick leather jacket or something that would be more like a turtle-like protection, something like that. But maybe wearing things that make you feel a little more protected will help your emotional body to stay more grounded and centered. And then finally, I think I'm going to pull an Ascension Angel card just to bring a little angelic blessing into the month of March 2021 and see what the angels would like to support us with this month. And let's see, this will be, oh, it just says call on your angels. So remember that the angelic world is always there for us. Your angels are always with you. You've always got that support, and it's easy to forget sometimes if things get dark, but you can always call on them, and it really does make a difference. So all right, so I hope that you've enjoyed this. I wish you much love and all the blessings of this coming month, and thank you again. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you again soon.